Hi, my name is Randy, and about a decade ago, I successfully sued Watchtower and received a cash settlement from them. Now, I say that I was successful not because I got cash from them, because that wasn't what I was after. I wasn't after trying to get rich or make money off of Watchtower. I actually had two reasons for suing them, two purposes, and I was able to fulfill those purposes. One, I was able to find out who was slandering my good name and interfering into our business. And the second purpose was I was able to stop them from interfering in my business and to stop their slandering. So I was able to attain those things, and I actually, to my attorney's surprise, my surprise too, I was not ordered under any gag order to not talk about these things, about what took place or what I had learned during my research, during my litigation. But although there was no gag order in place that was preventing me to speak about these things, I just kept my lips sealed during and after the litigation, because I'm embarrassed to confess now why. Because at that time I felt that I was just actually doing what I had to do, the burden to protect my family and provide for my family, but yet not do anything to harm what I felt was God's organization. I felt like it was just imperfect men that was running God's organization in some key high offices or positions, and I no longer feel that way anymore. And hence I'm going to now disclose what I believe, if known, could be used to be very beneficial in helping victims both that's inside the organization and victims that are outside the Watchtower organization. Yes, some victims have made this decision to stay, and that's fine. I'm not trying to, change their view or anything. If they want to stay, and if this can help them to get their due compensation, I would like to do that. And then there's others that are victims that are inside the organization that don't even know they're victims. Yes, they're victims because of Watchtower's policies and procedures, such as the two-witness rule and other rules. Well, to accomplish this, to help the victims are going to have to be able to know how to beat Watchtower at their own game. To beat anybody at their own game, you have to fully understand what that game is and how Watchtower plays it. I have on tape recording one of Watchtower's attorneys getting very irate at me because I let him know that I knew I was on to what his game was. What game was that? Well, as I told that attorney, it's a shell game where you're actually hiding, they're hiding their assets, moving them around from one corporation to another so as not to have to pay or compensate the victims that they've done atrocities to. Yes, that attorney says, "Oh, I'm surprised at you. You're a Jehovah's Witness and you're saying this." Well, I felt that was the case. Anybody knows the purpose of corporations is to protect their assets and limit their liability. But what Watchtower does is they're playing a shell game, and everybody knows what I'm talking about by a shell game. When you see like on TV ones that are playing on the streets, like in New York, where they've got this shell and like they'll have a P under it. I was going to use M&M, but after Mikey come and left, I can't find any M&Ms in the house at all. So I've got this little butterscotch candy. You've seen them on the streets. They'll quickly move them around, and if you guess which one, then you get the money. But if you miss, and you pick one where it's not there, you don't get any money. And so, how is it that a street player can win? Actually, it's very rare if they win, and either they know how to play the game, or actually the one who's performing this trick lets them win to let other ones see, so they come up and put in money, on the table. But here's how this game is actually played. Maybe some of you already know this. Whenever they move it around, like they put a P underneath here, and then they start moving around. They actually, I'm not any good at it, but they actually palm it in their hand, the little P. And you think it's there. So whenever, you think, well, I got a 1/3 chance of winning, but when you decide, well, whichever one it is, oh, you've lost. And then, well, it's under this one. And then when they pick that up, see, they've actually drop it real quick, and sleight of hand, you don't see it. So you think you just lost at a bona fide legitimate game. Well, that's what Watchtower is doing, is hustling their money, from one place to the other, moving it, setting up corporations that don't have any money in it. So whenever the victims sue them, if they win, there's not anything or very little of what it should be. Well, here's how ones can win if they know the game. Whenever the guy says, okay, and he's got it in his hand like this, and you're standing on the other side, and he says, pick one. Which one is it under? Simple. All the person has to do, remember, there's a crowd of people on the street all around watching. So all that person has to do, if he wants to win, is to say, well, it's the same time he's talking, he puts his hand on the out two, and he says, it's got to be that middle one because it's not under these two. You see, that guy playing the game, he has to pay you. Because if he says, oh, it's not under the middle one either, because he was cheating, what do you think about all those people that's already lost their money? What do you think they're going to be doing to them, see? And so that's the game that they play. And what I'm doing today, though, is I'm not trying to give legal advice because I'm not an attorney. I'm only encouraging you to go out and find an attorney, and then also share with you what I have learned during my research so that you and your attorney can discuss this and decide if this is the strategy or the claims that you want to make as well. What I would urge you to do, though, is don't try to fight this on yourself. Don't try to be your own attorney. If you have to be because the statute of limitations is running out at 5 o'clock today or tomorrow, sure, go ahead and write your own petition, but just to get it on record, but then immediately go out. Do your research, visit some attorneys, and I say attorneys plural because you may have to keep visiting till you find one that's a good fit for both you and the attorney, one that's a good personality fit. And what I suggest to do is to go to the State Bar's State Bar Association, their website for your state, and research for attorneys that specialize in the field that you're going, that your claim is going to be about. If it's about pedophilia or children being hurt, victims, or ones as you were a child you were hurt, find ones that specialize in that. If it's about real estate, if it's about wills, if it's about business, find one that specializes in that. And you can actually see on the state website, kind of a grade mark of the one if that attorney's been disciplined, what they're who they're able to, I guess, what courts are able to go in front of, who they're licensed to, and that sort of thing. And that's what I suggest, is just pick out the best one that you can, that you fit with very well. Now, you want to also find an attorney that's going to work diligent with you and in a timely fashion. There's been some multi-million-dollar cases that I've been involved with that we've actually had to fire our attorneys because they did not... they procrastinated and they wasn't meeting the deadlines. And I'm not talking just a day or two or a week. I'm talking a month. They would go by past the deadline, and we're getting close to statute of limitations. So we had to fire them and get somebody else. So that's something that you can do. But once you find that person, I'm not saying try to dictate his things. You're going to have to trust that attorney to know that he knows the details, but keep them in line with what your written agreement is with that, with that attorney. Agreements for his fees, expenses, claims, strategy, things that you both agree on, and put it in writing, especially on the deadlines for the filings that you agree on. So how does a victim beat Watchtower at their own game in a court of law? It's by actually making the same claim that I did and others have done. And that claim is that Watchtower is an alter ego. Yes, this claim is easy to prove because all that term means is that Watchtower, or the governing body of Watchtower, is in complete control over all of their corporations and all their holdings or belongings. But why is that important thing to establish in court? Well, the reason it's important to establish in court is because that there are damages that are awarded. Some of them are called actual damages and some are called punitive damages. Well, actual and one's compensatory damages, those are things that will include things that actually cost you money right out of your pocket, like to pay for, say, mental health professional, health care, doctors, medicine, property that was lost, things like that. Okay. Punitive damages. What does that word? Think of the word punitive, what it actually means. It means something that you're going to do to punish them, to prevent them from doing it to you, these atrocities, or doing it to somebody else if they're punished. So how do you punish somebody? You punish somebody by making the amount something they're going to take notice of, something that's going to affect them. Naturally, if it's somebody that doesn't have a high revenue, high income, the punishment wouldn't have to be as much, and they're going to sit up and take notice because they don't want to lose any little bit. But if it's somebody that's very big and worth a lot, they're just, even a multi-million-dollar award, that organization could say, oh, well, I hate to lose multi-millions, but it's only millions, and it's a cost of doing business. So they don't look at it as the same. It's from the same perspective. So it's all about, I guess, a person's perspective, and what they're worth. So what their net worth is. That's how punitive damages are determined, is by an individual or an organization's net worth. And to bear this out, you might find interesting that in my research, I found one church that got awarded as much as, I guess you could say, the largest victim of Jehovah's Witnesses have been awarded today. And that one church, the net value was only $250 million. See, and we know that Watchtower's net value is up in the billions of dollars, with like $1 billion revenue reported every year. So what it was going to take, though, to unearth whatever the net value actually is, would take a special detective team that specializes in financial disclosures and detective work. Now you can go on to Barbara Anderson's, our friend's site, the whistleblower Barbara Anderson's site, Watchtower documents, and you can see this. She's got on you can download it straight. I got her CD back when I was doing my research, and it's called Secrets of Pedophilia in American Religion. Well, there's more than just editorial content in here. There's actually 5,000 pages of court cases, a dozen court cases that are documents from these. Barbara went and paid whatever it was, $1 a page, to get a certified copy, or you could say get a copy from the court system, and then she paid to have it all compiled into a PDF format. So you and your attorneys can sit through and go through here. What I found very interesting was that most of these cases had one thing in common, and that thing was that they made the claim that Watchtower was an alter ego. Like the Amy versus Watchtower case alone that's in there, the word alter ego was mentioned 30 times. Most of those cases were waiting on a judge's ruling on that claim of alter ego. And while they were waiting, actually before the judge came back with his ruling, a settlement was reached. And in my opinion, the claim was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt simply by these attorneys for the victims presenting evidence in the way of Watchtower documentation. This documentation ranged anywhere from the present organization book to the old organization book, the old lamp book, even to current literature documents, Watchtowers, and believe it or not, an affidavit that Watchtower had furnished in a previous court procedure. Just to show, I'll put it up on the screen too, but many of you recognize that picture of a past article in the Watchtower describing the hierarchy. you know, with those men right there at the top. It's even more apparent who they are when they have a picture of them sitting on the globe above all the ones down below them in the structure in a magazine, Watchtower magazine, I believe maybe 2-3 years ago. So that could be furnished in any new court. That new article could be an excellent document to furnish it. The claim that they made, this is just one brief paragraph that I'm reading from one of the procedures here. It says, Watchtower defend its organization and chain of command. This is a claim they're making. Now they're saying the Watchtower's defendants organization has a hierarchical structure in which the governing body sits at the top of a strict chain of command that extends over each individual and defendant entity in the organization. These individuals and entities act as agents, servants, and alter egos of each other. Authority for actions by the organization, its leader, and or members must derive from the governing body, which has absolute authority over every person and all matters in the organization and its worldwide operations. The governing body is a small group of men who operate out of various entities within the hierarchical, forgive me for my pronunciation, but the hierarchical structure. So, every Jehovah's Witness knows this. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses know this. Those that's outside the organization may not know it. But what surprised me the most was Watchtower's affidavit. And I want to discuss that just real briefly because this is very important. This was a case in Bonham, Texas back in the 1980s. What it revolves around was there was a group of men there that were leaders, elders that decided they didn't like Watchtower's teachings and they was going to, I guess, bring up their own teachings or get away from what they considered was wrong teachings. And Watchtower didn't like that, so they deleted them out of office. But guess what? The title was over in the names of these men down there in Bonham. Matter of fact, when I mentioned to the Watchtower attorney during my litigation, I said about Bonham, Texas, do you know about it? He says, oh, we'll all remember Bonham. So see, what happened was, this guy at the time, his name was Don Adams. At the time, he was Assistant Secretary Treasurer. Later, he ended up in the year 2000 becoming the president of the Watchtower Society. But at the time, in a nutshell, what he does with this affidavit is just says, hey, look, all the property worldwide is ours. You know, we put these men up as trustees. We let them buy property, but it still belongs to us. Whatever we say how the property is to be used, we control it. See, in other words, it bit them in the rear by them saying this because they basically have proven with their own words the alter ego claims. So, what I want to do is I forgot where I was at. Forgive me for that. But yeah, I want to just basically, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's too lengthy of an affidavit. But just a couple of quick sentences out of here from this Don Adams. Him proving the alter ego claim, in my opinion. Like paragraph 19, he says, in one area in which the body of elders would conduct matters for the benefit of the congregation and subject to the governing body would be in the area of buying or selling real estate to be used by the local congregation as a place of worship known as Kingdom Hall. So in other words, you know, they're acting as agents. Governing bodies in control. They're control. That's the alter ego. They mentioned something called a theocratic organization or a theocratic government many times, and it says this theocratic organization of Jehovah's Witnesses is directed by the governing body. They use that directed quite a bit. Actually, here are some pages out of that affidavit that I blew up so I could read really quickly. But they talked about the theocratic government. It says, the mere fact that a legal corporation or trustee arrangement has been made does not mean that a separate organization has been formed that can function separately and apart from the congregation and be used to guide and direct its policies. And it talks about title holders here. It says the title holders have absolutely nothing to do with the use to be made of the property and cannot determine who's going to live on the property or what kind of work is to be done in it. Again, proving the alter ego claim. Number 15 here of this man's affidavit, he says each position, speaking of course of the elders, each position is filled by appointment from the governing body, and each appointed representative is required to cooperate with the governing body. And again, it's mentioned several things about the responsibility of the elders to see that the congregation is managed according to what? The directives of the governing body. And again, that word directives is mentioned several times. And again, what happened? Oh, let me get to the end of, let me get to this here procedure here. They presented this, and then they call to do a deposition. And a deposition is getting ready to be done on the affidavit of Don Adams, the person, whoever is being asked to come, who has the most knowledge on that. The most knowledge on the organizational and corporate structure. I had that right first time, correct, but corporate structure, and the makeup of the governing body, and any participation that they had in the child sexual matters that was reported by or investigated by Texas congregations. But listen to this. This is what caught my attention too. They were asked to furnish this here. Any organizational meetings, minutes, the meeting minutes, and that's something that generally is not provided there, to anybody. But government filings and insurance policies. And then, after they're told that this deposition is about to take place, what do we have? Order of dismissal, because they reached a settlement agreement again. And that's not, that's just time after time after time. It's not just that one time. I just got a couple more that shows the settlement agreement. This is Morley, Leanna versus, I guess, the North Albany Oregon congregation. Trial by 12-person jury. It's dated April 20th when this notice went out, and it's telling them the notice is going to be for the October 24th, 2006. So it was April 20th, 2006 when this went out. So hey, and I had attorneys tell me that they felt Watchtower was kind of scared of having a trial by juror. But looky here. That was in April. May the 15th, 2006. Please be advised, this case has been settled. A trial date of October 24th, 2006 should be removed from the docket. So, to me, it's very important that all the victims can be able to access this in this video. I'm hoping it'll be of benefit. Please feel free to share it. I give you my permission to copy it. You don't have to just share it. Sharing is fine, but if for whatever reason my YouTube channel gets taken down, if you have copied the video and put it back up in other places, it makes it almost impossible then to take it down. You can, put it on your YouTube channel. You have my permission. You can put it on, up in Reddit, put it on Facebook, whatever groups that you're in, and just please get it out there. In my heart, I feel this is the most important video I've done thus far. Because this, I believe, is what can help the victims get the duly compensation that they deserve, and maybe be able to get an end to all this atrocities that Watchtower is dishing out. Maybe help prevent it from happening somewhat in future cases to future victims. So, keep in mind, I'm going to put it in my description link to Barbara Anderson's website. All you got to remember is watchtowerdocuments.org, and go look for the cases, the documents that's on PDF that you can download and look at here. Go over with your attorney, and get his opinion on it if he thinks this is an excellent claim, like some of the attorneys in the past have thought. And I hope there's enough interest from this video so that I can go ahead and create a sequel, make a sequel to this, perhaps go down to fly down to Houston and speak with the attorneys there that had made this claim successfully in the past. Also, that's Hartley Hampton, possibly the other ones in Dallas Fort Worth, the Love and Norris. I'd be glad to do that. And feel free, anybody reach out to me if I can help in any way. I'm more than happy to do that. And that's all. I hope this helps.